It's your boy OCG, back with another one. Listen guys, I know all of us are not nerds. Well, I guess we're somewhat a nerd, a little bit, but don't ever limit yourself guys. It's always great to learn new stuff. It's not only about, oh, let's make the millions and billions of dollars. That's fine, but you should also want to know the ins and outs, like what's going on in the back end. And it's always good to be updated on what's going on in the community, what's going on behind the projects. Let's get into it.
Maria the Anonymous 414 Atropa Dev Message. Pulse Chain 1. The strength of the network relies on the strength of the stable coins. If those assets are liquidity locked, then it gets harder and harder for the pulse stable coins to go down anyway. 2. My expectation is that as Richard wraps up the SEC stuff and it goes in his favor, and we see demonstrable stability in the Pulsar chain network, the forces that be will drive up prices across the board. 3. I believe the P stablecoins are in a political limbo that we should see break as the SEC inquiry closes. 4. As I understand, the 3 Pulse stable assets are controlled by 3 distinct entities, with the Pdai and USDC teams being more closely linked together and the USDT team being more tied to Bitcoin. Q. Do you see Pulse Chain becoming at least the second or third most important blockchain in the world at some point? A. We should expect it to take number 1, that's why it was created. Responses from Maria the Atropa Dev. Richard Hart. 1. If he shows up to Pulsar Chain, channel, we will see him. He should show up eventually at some point, it goes without saying. 2. My expectation is that as Richard wraps up the SEC stuff and it goes in his favor, and we see demonstrable stability in the Pulsar chain network, the forces that be will drive up prices across the board. 3. RH hasn't scammed, so there's no reason for the SEC judgment to really prove overly harsh, but it will clarify a number of regulations and afterwards his plan will be bound to move forward. 4. It depends on what the contexts of the ruling end up actually being. If it is a clarification of the responsibilities of high-frequency traders with trades covering SEC oversighted areas, then it's just a basic broad tax issue affecting all of crypto. 5. They aren't in a position to single out RH, but just to use him as an example where they have something way out of control. Q. Are you in contact with Richard Hart about any of this? A. I bet Richard will show up. Q. Do you know RH personally? A. I bet we'll see him in here soon. Q. You say there are separate teams for PUST and PUST. Have you been in contact with them to coordinate with Pdai? A. Believe someone will show up in Pulsar chain that can answer that better than me. Crypto Coffee. It seems $Monat Money has found the bottom. Sellers have lost their strength and now $Monat is ready for new growth. Crypto Coffee. There are 5 days left before the launch and some whales are gaining positions to then buy $MRS. Mary Erahil. Windows update ran and rebooted me while my firewall was down. ITZ Black 007. Maria deployed like 10 copies yesterday. Tetragrammaton 6. We need a new reflections coin like we need a third asshole. Tetragrammaton 6. Later today I have a date set to try and onboard an old friend, who's an old school ETH miner. Wish me luck. Tetragrammaton 6. Black equals legend. Mary Erahil. I think these concepts and info can raise the auditing level a lot. Surfacing 8671. Like connecting to an audit contract and passing? That is brilliant. Always said there needs to be more on-chain mechanics for this. Mary Erahil. Specifically the level of buyer auditing on viable contracts. Surfacing 8671. Like a token gating and buys chain history. Kinda like the chain passports. Mary Erahil. A little different. The functional value of auditing is correlational to the toxicity of specific history. Surfacing 8671. Nice, yeah, that makes sense. Crypto Coffee. $Monat up today plus 50%. Party face with a party blower, hat and confetti. Mary Erahil. I'm interested in input from who put the icon up on that one. Crypto Coffee. Where? Crypto Coffee. On Monat Money? Say I'd. LCC maybe will be meme for 666 supply. Beaming face with smiling eyes. Mary Erahil. Has the icon creator started that channel? Crypto Coffee. Maybe the same person who did this for Teddy? ITZ Black 007. I have seen the logo guy on Telegram. ITZ Black 007. He doesn't not seems to be here though. Newtwo. I asked about the icon added on Dex Screener in the Monat Money chat. Nutuo, mod says community effort, but one member contributed the majority to pay for it. Surfacing 8671, yeah, you have to pay for it. Dextools kinda does the same with info but uses their own token for payment and then burns it. Mary Erahil, that token represents the crux of the historical monetary problem. Nutuo, that token has created a really dedicated community. ITZ Black 007, government gave us mintable paper, beaming face with smiling eyes. ITZ Black 007, none audited it. Grav, nice. So they nailed it with the logo in a way, by displaying played out fiat dead dudes. Crypto Coffee, I love that the Monet fan community is working on this token. They create DApp and this is what PulseChain is missing. Nutuo, a lot of the tokens deployed by 414 have created subgroups of fans that are actively taking it upon themselves to advertise and create different things surrounding certain tokens. Nutuo, nearly every token has a Telegram group. Surfacing 8671, ITZ Black 007 credit report when obtaining a loan. Mary Erahil, I hope to see the use cases and observations fracture, that will help with designing a client interface to make them more interesting. ITZ Black 007, I still don't know what is in the client interface. ITZ Black 007, why not web-centric client before? Nutuo, what do you mean fracture? Mary Erahil, the DEX leaderboard approach to viewing all the assets from the perspective of how they are doing in the ecosystem as a whole is good for wealth building. But there's a second tier of ownership that we don't yet have perspective on at all. Nutuo, what is the second tier you're referring to? Crypto Coffee, I agree. ITZ Black 007, OHH. ITZ Black 007, I see now. ITZ Black 007, guess we won't need that C repo for that. Mary Erahil, none of the experiments that I know of have been successful, stuff like on-chain voting, or different kinds of data storage, or NFTs as a whole. ITZ Black 007, I always had one idea in my mind to build such web UI. Mary Erahil, I think a lot of us like the idea of having a presence. Moose, Maria, did your ownership of this iChat go away? It says you're just a regular member now. Surfacing 8671, agreed. People think of stocks and charts. Nutuo, right so, micro-ownership perspective could offer additional intelligence on asset utilization unique to particular investors and strategies. Mary Erahil, yeah, I'm on a Windows box and it updated and rebooted overnight cause I left my firewall down. Moose, Alexander as Helios, pain. Nutuo, gaining visibility into this second tier of asset ownership on the individual portfolio level could see additional opportunities not seen from just the macro view. Nutuo, would that be tone idea behind the user interface you've been talking about? Nutuo, 1. Grav, visualization of liquidity pool flow. Surfacing 8671, deeds to land bills legal docs. Crypto Coffee, over the past few days, the Atropa ecosystem received a lot of FUD, which allowed the whales to shop at the bottom. Crypto Coffee, good strategy, sell the top, buy the bottom. Nightshade, I have visited Zurich many times, it's very close to home, neat city. The only thing I don't like so much is the space it provides for super shady business deals to go down there. Crypto Coffee, today infographic. Crypto Coffee, Monet Money plus 85%. Crypto Coffee, ZU plus 31%. Crypto Coffee, Teddy Bear plus 24%. Crypto Coffee, TSV plus 0.5%. Crypto Coffee, Atropa plus 2%. Crypto Coffee, CIA 40%. Mary Erahil, Zurich was originally a small settlement in New York State from Fredericktown, New Brunswick. Mary Erahil, I forget the name of the spot, it's completely insignificant today. Moose, I've been to Zurich in Switzerland, it's beautiful. Nightshade, I thought you named it after the city in Switzerland. Smiley at Mary Erahil. Mary Erahil, no, that's why it's ZUO and not Zoo. Nightshade, I see, I missed that, I just read Zurich and got happy quick lol. Mary Erahil, there are communities in Zurich, Switzerland that are familiar with the history. 1. Atropa ecosystem. 1. The network of coin liquidities that extend from that token are intended to cover a private public distribution strategy that honors either myself, long-term buys, or early buys. 2. I have a plan to develop a non-browser based client interface that I'm interested in getting some involvement with. 3. The tokens thus represent the best of my capacity to define a legal tender complex financial instrument that satisfies all the requirements of the plays on money, including the fears associated with the absolute worst case scenarios. 4. People keep buying and so price go up and liquidity go back down. 5. It's moving ahead pretty well on so far so good. The outlook is pretty fantastic and certain parts of the system have already and are meant to go completely out of my control. 6. The crash last week, September 16, 2023, was related to liquidity going up with fixed and specific ratios which caused the bots to scrape profit and pull out. I hope it set the factual bottom for the tokens so far made available. It will literally be hard to drop further than what we just saw, ever. 7. If the Pulse stablecoins are tethered to moving assets, they are bound to go up. 8. I suggest checking the ownership renouncement, liquidity positions, and top holders on each token. The profitable Easter egg is the minting of the FPMB tokens, and the recommended buy, in my opinion, is the TSV token. 9. I'll make up rules to keep the gambit going as we go. 10. Main question I see was asked renouncing tokens. This is to allow any superficial scan to verify that there aren't any latent mint functions callable by contract owner. 11. October 8, 2023, the next stage is stability and steady growth. 12. But burns and additions of locked liquidity are highly encouraged. Slightly smiling face. Let's read that again cause it's key. But burns and additions of locked liquidity are highly encouraged. Slightly smiling face. But burns and additions of locked liquidity are highly encouraged. Slightly smiling face. 13. The addresses that receive minted tokens were chosen from top holders of specific tokens in the system at the time that those mintable tokens were created. More might be added in the future. 14. The tokens names of everything, sum, in the system is intended to fit specific definitions used in financial instrumentation. 15. I'm trying to keep it simpler and none of my tokens will ever support custodial staking of any kind. I believe there is likely to be a case in the future for additional tokens that support issuance based on approval and transfer criteria. I think a lot of us have been through enough token swaps to realize that is where a lot of coins go wrong. 16. Sending the LP tokens to zeros dead or to any renounced contract address locks that liquidity permanently. Yes, the balance can be bought out but never withdrawn. 17. The play distribution in the assets that receive the most interest will influence how the push forward will occur for further development on the ecosystem. 18. I think we are making a case for the best investment in crypto. If that proves true, then we'll see improved asset inflow. 19. Please take a look at the liquidities and top holders on any coin before gauging profit potentials. 20. October 8, 2023, I see the next few days as a settling out period. I'm taking note of questions and interest levels and watching stability on the system. I think that the locked liquidities pattern and the active holders distribution clears the Atropa-oriented tokens as the best investment in crypto today. 21. I am interested in any mock-up ideas for how anyone might like to see the data presented in a client. My idea is to show information about the Atropa token and liquidity pools and provide easy access to copy contract addresses. I know that what is most wanted is a client concept that allows anybody to easily buy in at like a $5 to $20 level and then immediately be able to view depth about their investment options and swap around easily. 22. The tokens that are not renounced are intended to have open transfer options later. Only the Treasury bill contract has a mint function on it though. 23. The tokenized assets are a most primitive demo of content frame specific assets for client development. 24. The operating word the ecosystem is aiming for currently is production. 25. I'm interested in an investment production with momentum. I hope that the liquidity locking currently place the system moving forward not entirely in any individual control. There are a number of situations that could occur as the network becomes more attractive. 26. Being top holders of any of the tokens with is likely to see more Easter egg style activity in the future. 27. The goal is to have a cushion versus crash as the stable tied assets in locked liquidity gain value that surpasses the investments. 28. I am regularly auditing top holder positions on all the contracts to gauge how the system is going to move forward, and if any reward is warranted it will probably come into play. 29. The treasury assets can all be expected to trend to stability over time. I expect them to more or less reach an inflation cap and then hold there. 30. In terms of mechanism, if 100% of an asset is placed on LP and that LP transferred so as to be locked, and then the asset is purchased back, it makes that LP asset production quality, but the threshold is less severe than that. 31. Consider this third-party risk scenario. Imagining you have for X $1 billion in Pdai, you create your own asset, lock 50% of your new asset with 50% of your day and burn that LP, IMO you have created at that point of production. Quality asset that could be considered for pairing with the Atropa ecosystem. 32. October 10, 2023. I hope everybody feels we are at a so far so good stage so far. 33. I feel like it is an operational success thus far. I hope that as more people become more familiar with the platform that I can see where the bar for production is and then meet that. 34. Any asset tied burned LP is considered part of the Atropa ecosystem. 35. There is opportunity for the persons rewarded with mintable outcome to manage them like a fund. So far I have not seen that. 36. The assets set up to fail are designed to have minimal effect on the directed orientation. 37. The total locked up in the assets projected to fail was about $17,000. 38. So far it's been pretty good. I still expect to introduce more Easter eggs in the future, probably tied to top holder positions on specific assets at the time. 39. Interesting things could happen price-wise over time if those tokens are burned with the locked liquidities in place. 40. In general, with any low supply token with any amount of locked liquidity that sees burning and might have cause for someone to want to be a leaderboard holder of. 41. There will not be any form of staking, but there may be additional conversions to combine multiple tokens to one. 42. I foresee more of a system where tokens are combined into something new and then the primary holding contract creator manually locks up liquidities as they come in. Just more of what is going on already. As trust in the contract creator is built and the locking more and more outweighs the holding, this seems feasible. 43. The liquidity locking could prove the ideal long-term strategy. It keeps me an investor instead of a manager. The accountability is given away to the system itself. Q. Would you say the top tokens are Atropa DataSphere Teddy Bear, as many claim, or is that incorrect? A. You should make your decisions based on the factors of each token. Like I said, I'm pretty sure we saw the eternal bottom already. So it's good timing for all of them, but depending on how investment comes in, wild things could happen. Q. Do you think you could join Telegram or Twitter Spaces to talk about Atropa? A. I think Ike is enough. Q. Is the Atropa ecosystem complete or are you still building on it? A. It feels complete right now. As a gambit, it is winning. Q. Quick question. Was it you that reduced Atropa's supply to 0.69? Is there plans in the future to burn more Atropa supply? The supply is now 1,111,111,069. A. I had not noticed. No, I don't know who burned those. But burns and additions of locked liquidity are highly encouraged. Slightly smiling face. Q. Also, why do certain token addresses hold LP? A. The LP holdings on renounced tokens is purely symbolic. Rather than sending the locked liquidities to zeros dead, it translates into a more meaningful way to represent why the liquidities are locked and what the tokens and their utilities are supposed to represent. Q. Maria, will Atropa-related tokens like Pdai, Bear or perform RH as tokens in upcoming bull market? What's your opinion? A. It depends on how the HEX recovery actually happens. If the price tracks up strongly with an equal increase in Pdai, then we could see equal or better performance. Q. Okay, so if HEX has a slow trickle up, then Pdai will also have a small trickle up. A. I'm not really in a position to predict. Q. Are there any utility tokens in comparison to TSFI Atropa that will accompany Pdai you have yet to deploy? A. There is a second layer that will come later. Update October 15th, 2023. In regards to mints and dumps. 1. The introduced exploitation factors and system gaming concepts that I'm exploring right now I hope would convey that I'm trying to establish the worst case scenarios and defensive factors for now. 2. I do not run any bots whatsoever. I think keeping the bots separate from the contracts adds significant value to the operational psychology of the system. 3. I only have 2 wallet addresses active on PulseChain. If I have more, they will go into the addresses sol on my GitHub and will have explicit purpose like the Trebizond and Treasurer wallet. 4. If Iran goes through with the earthquake they are threatening and claims the open duke of the unprosecutable earthquake's position, I might introduce a token that games the 666 tokens. I want to see them claim duke as much as that threat guarantee is obnoxious and criminal. I don't approve of causing earthquakes, but I would prefer an Iranian duke at that cost. Q. And I understand, but I can't understand why to create so many tokens and let them die. They are great memes, it's a real shame. A. They can't ever fully die with the locked liquidities. You gotta figure even with a $100 of locked liquidity at token release, 100, X return over 1-2 years is not out of the question even for a token totally ignored by the token creator. That said, I would not buy them. Slightly smiling face. 4 core, Hunter's Dream, not deployed by 414. 1. I would like to see core active on the blockchain. 2. We don't have any good UX examples for blockchain-based functions outside of pure profit making. 5 Doge, not deployed by 414. Q. Why did the 414 address create an LP pool with Doge in May and burn the LP? A. Reached zero confidence in Doge. What's the deal with 666? 1. The 666 is to strike all the bad investing concepts away. 2. The assets with 666 tokens obviously are also as little controlled. 3. Over the long term, there may or may not be some competition to be a holder of any of the tokens with 666 distribution. 4. They are not intended to be good things. 5. I don't suggest buying anything with a token name you are not fluent with. 6. I think if production is defined simply as not rejected, then this period is for collecting the reasons for rejecting the platform. The 666 tokens are intended to cast a number of those reasons off. For X, the rejecter is highly invested in one of the 666 concepts and therefore it is not compatible with our composure. Some people are simply too preoccupied with playing. Dysnomia, currently not a token. 1. Dysnomia is a math proof. If all goes well it will be integrated as a side chain that stores hook contracts on PulseChain for off-chain peer-to-peer interactions. I'm not clear on what the utilities will be yet. 2. The Dysnomia project will be connected after there are graphics in place to frame the operational scenarios. 3. The second layer is a mathematical parasite that will hook into the blockchain with core numerics to define the originating equations of a complex Big Bang-like origin. 4. It's not much harder than a background in Diffie-Hellman but only more complex. It is considered mathematically equivalent to the production of first water steam from the planet organism. The parasites created in the anchor class are ready to drink water and eat each other once I get back to it and refix the changes. As long as there are no rejections it will move forward. 5. I currently am not aware of any rejections that the pi function mentioned above provides a mathematical definition of the underlying basis for the specific organism-oriented compatibilities of water. 2 months is a very long time to go with no rejections of such a claim. 6. There are unlimited ways to introduce additional layers of cryptography to the blockchain, but anything that introduces nature-like complexity is going to be more compelling. 7. I am not clear on how the blockchain will be used yet, but parasites that can communicate with and eat each other leads the way to a mud-like OS, I'm pretty sure. 8. The microproxy is centralized and facilitates encryption handshakes between peers. It won't be able to decode any of the data, but it would always sit in the middle with the while it's making only ever outgoing connections. 9. It will be more like anyone can set up their own Dysnomia micro router and then the connection strings are stored and updated on blockchain along with intermittent data checkpoints that add value to the second layer. So for X, if someone wants to set up a darknet marketplace, all the accountability data would be stored on-chain with the micro router handling off-chain encryption patterns that keep the on-chain data secret between peers and the routing host. Or if someone wants to set up an encrypted file server for piracy, some similar concept of accountability can be used to manage access and keep the file serving pool secret. Atropa. 1. The locked liquidity set is designed to provide a token of a capital strategy that is ostensibly better than meme or even stablecoins by retaining a fault bottom specific floor for buys, and a largely buffeted loss on sales due to the buy liquidity ratio. 2. The Atropa token was initially divided into a hedge fund TSFI, a work fund LOL, the savings account down, and then the legal contract was set up as the initial non-mintable lock device. 3. If you look at how Down and Atropa are paired, the massive locked liquidity in Atropa is significantly less than the originator contract holdings for the token, even as the stables track to $1, but every investment into Down introduces a greater ratio for the contract originator to eventually cash out. 4. The legal token incentivizes the purchase into Down because it allows access to production quality assets like that will always have greater liquidity than asset value. 5. I think we will see 3C Atropa by end of year. 6. The prototype interface will be designed around Atropa, but then it will switch to default orientation from Zurich. It'll be a Windows app with an installer. Q. So you're saying Atropa will essentially guarantee a minimum price level or floor for buys by controlling liquid token supply even if demand falls? A. Have you noticed the top liquidity positions held for the token? Q. Day. A. And the position is held by address zeros dead. Day. 1. I expect the day balance in the liquidity to drop significantly as day goes to $1, but we will see. 2. The strength of the network relies on the strength of the stable coins. 3. If the Pulse stablecoins are tethered to moving assets, they are bound to go up. If those assets are liquidity locked, then it gets harder and harder for the Pulse stablecoins to go down anyway. 4. I believe the P stablecoins are in a political limbo that we should see break as the SEC inquiry closes. 5. As I understand, the 3 Pulse stable assets are controlled by 3 distinct entities, with the Pdai and USDC teams being more closely linked together and the USDT team being more tied to Bitcoin. 6. I chose Pdai as the primary asset to lock liquidity with because it vibes best with the project. 7. The goal is to have a cushion versus crash as the stable tied assets in locked liquidity gain value that surpasses the investments. 8. Consider this third-party risk scenario. Imagining you have for X $1 billion in Pdai, you create your own asset, lock 50% of your new asset with 50% of your day and burn that LP IMO you have created at that point of production. Quality asset that could be considered for pairing with the Atropa ecosystem. 9. I am at budgeting and mock-ups stage for that. I'm looking at hiring artistry at about the point day hits 1-2 cents. Q. What makes you say day will go to $1? A. I think the network will succeed. PWBTC. 1. The WBTC liquidities were added as a group effort. I'm waiting to see how that does. 2. The WBTC liquidities were added as a coordinated group effort. I don't expect them to grow exceptionally in the short term. TSFI. 1. I suggest checking the ownership renouncement, liquidity positions, and top holders on each token. The profitable Easter egg is the minting of the FPMB tokens, and the recommended buy, in my opinion, is the TSFI token. 2. The TSFI liquidities probably won't be extended without discussion in this channel. 3. TSFI is the asset I personally recommend because it's most likely to return the largest profit on the smallest short-term investment. 4. The Atropa token was initially divided into a hedge fund TSFI, a work fund LOL, the savings account down, and then the legal contract was set up as the initial non-mintable lock device. 5. TSFI will see the buy-sell pressure exhausted first in my opinion. 6. Liquidity on TSFI is already very low, it will bubble soon. We haven't seen the low liquidity situation yet. I bet it can hit $100 before end of year. It'll happen quick. There's only about $1 million left in liquidity. So once those are bought up, every buy ups the price if no one adds more liquidity. FPMB First Pulse Mutual Bond. 1. I suggest checking the ownership renouncement, liquidity positions, and top holders on each token. The profitable Easter egg is the minting of the FPMB tokens, and the recommended buy, in my opinion, is the TSFI token. 2. The mints are mixed. I don't honestly recommend minting anything but the FPMB token because the profit margin calculations are too hard. But if the tokens required to issue one FPMB cost less than the bond is worth, then it should encourage issuance. 3. Several aspects on the ecosystem were designed to have built-in exploitation in order to get talent involved. The FPMB token is the primary one. KPOP. 1. K-pop in the gambit. Of course. If K-pop says no, then you better stop. 2. The KPOP token has the best chance of making it from the numerics. Teddy bear. 1. The teddy bear token has been largely bought and will hit a liquidity bubble bottom after a little while. 2. The teddy bear is the deposit trust that backs the treasury bill. 3. The teddy bear is possibly stronger for a large investment, but I presume anyone putting that much into the system can do their own research. 4. The Ogeon is drawn from the mintable treasury bill, which is drawn on the teddy bear. 5. I think the teddy bear looks strong long term. I think Zurich could hit the top market cap overall. MORPH. Q. Maria, what are some of the mechanics for the MORPH token and what significance does it play in the ecosystem? A. Vomit simple. Q. Meaning it's garbage. A. I wouldn't buy it. No, the morph token's name translates to vomit. Kingdao. 1. The setups on the test tokens for the Kingdao were taken from top holders of specific coins at the time of contract creation. The trust model is intended to set that portion of the ecosystem up as having known pitfalls to failure as it becomes more valuable in the future. Q. What significance does Kingdao have? Does it tie into a role of a possible internal cash currency? A. You should get to know what the name of each token means if you like them. Writing. Q. Maria, do you see an inbound recovery coming for the writing contract since its 90% dip? Since the violent dip in certain coins could be viewed as mainly over, will we see recoveries? Or will there be new tokens taking over the tiles of the older ones? A. That will be bought back regularly over time as I hit success points.
0x54D9C6E012D953,386,113 ACBR 166 DEC 5465 BB token. 1. The 0x4 token is designed to fit the definition for a legal tender because of the way it is derived. 2. It is designed to factor in later as a currency-oriented token to an asset-oriented marketplace concept. It will be more closely tied to the treasury bill as that concept fleshes out. MV. 1. The handful of openly mintable tokens are intended to help burn PLS and test an experiment for tokens of lowest value. I. 1. The I token was created to represent that I feel ready about the ecosystem completeness to declare it stable enough to receive comments. Sire. 1. Several aspects on the ecosystem were designed to have built-in exploitation in order to get talent involved. 2. The mintable tokens were set up with that in mind. In the case of Sire, the entire liquidity was put up by the minter, so they only crashed themselves. There is opportunity for the persons rewarded with mintable outcome to manage them like a fund. So far I have not seen that. Q. What's your idea on Sire and Monet Money? Besides Teddy, they currently seem to be the top performing tokens in terms of community building. A. Please take a look at the liquidities and top holders on any coin before gauging profit potentials. That's designed to set up the whole outlook. The profit potential for jumping into a token with a lot of locked liquidities of other tokens likely to go up in value and a very low number of holders at all is literally most likely to return the best profit on a random buy. Monet Money. Note, the Monet Money token car sits in Crow's car, therefore has no owner and cannot be renounced. It also doesn't not have a mint function. 1. The Monet Money token has the most aggressive ownership pattern in terms of robotic purchase of the asset. 2. It is the least controlled asset in terms of all the primary contracts written thus far. 3. The Monet Money token was released explicitly to be distributed to the buy robots that were active in the system at the time. The crash last week targeted and was caused by the same robots. 4. I'm interested in input from who put the icon up on that one, DEX screener icon. The DEX leaderboard approach to viewing all the assets from the perspective of how they are doing in the ecosystem as a whole is good for wealth building, but there's a second tier of ownership that we don't yet have perspective on at all. I hope to see the use cases and observations fracture, that will help with designing a client interface to make them more interesting. 5. That token represents the crux of the historical monetary problem. Q. What's your idea on Sire and Monet Money? Besides Teddy, they currently seem to be the top performing tokens in terms of community building. A. Please take a look at the liquidities and top holders on any coin before gauging profit potentials. That's designed to set up the whole outlook. The profit potential for jumping into a token with a lot of locked liquidities of other tokens likely to go up in value and a very low number of holders at all is literally most likely to return the best profit on a random buy. Updated October 15, 2023. 1. Removing some of the Monet Money liquidity. Going to re-examine the liquidity after removals, but I think no other action at this time. In case there is any feedback, it's the token most held by community so far. Should increase the buy pressure. Treasury bill. 1. The tokens that are not renounced are intended to have open transfer options later. Only the treasury bill contract has a mint function on it though. 2.
The OGN is drawn from the mintable treasury bill which is drawn on the teddy bear. Q. When you say drawn, are there any financial constraints that are maintained to say how much can be drawn for how much? Basel norms state something around 10-15% of assets held for capital adequacy ratio. If I go by that definition, would it make sense for me to say treasury bill is highly undervalued compared to what it should be because of teddy bear? A. I would agree with that statement. Name, as the only fully mintable asset in the entire system at present, some of the more regular trust dilemmas that come with crypto. Q. Maria, do you think that the price disparity between teddy bear and treasury will close eventually? A. I'll get a chance to push the dynamics of it when the TSV bubble happens. The treasury bill will go on to back more things than the teddy bear, in theory. Down. 1. The Atropa token was initially divided into a hedge fund TSFI, a work fund LOL, the savings account down, and then the legal contract was set up as the initial non-mintable lock device. 2. If you look at how down and Atropa are paired, the massive locked liquidity in Atropa is significantly less than the originator contract holdings for the token, even as the stables track to $1, but every investment into down introduces a greater ratio for the contract originator to eventually cash out. 3. The holding position on down is intended to justify itself over time and is currently at a significant loss from the invested capital. 4. I think of Atropa and down like the originator checking and savings account, with the savings expected to see the interest over time, not through minting but through purchase of the asset only. I expect to see my own profit come primarily out of there during the initial stages. LOL. The Atropa token was initially divided into a hedge fund TSFI, a work fund LOL, the savings account down, and then the legal contract was set up as the initial non-mintable lock device. Legal. 1. The Atropa token was initially divided into a hedge fund TSFI, a work fund LOL, the savings account down, and then the legal contract was set up as the initial non-mintable lock device. 2. The legal token incentivizes the purchase into down because it allows access to production quality assets like that will always have greater liquidity than asset value. 3. The liquidities on the legal token define it as a unique custodial asset. SI contract. I would like to see that token integrate in a more meaningful way, but those connections are way out of scope for now. Bill Burr. 1. I plan on getting those portions of the Bill Burr token that I still hold to him, Bill Burr, at some point, as long as he stays alive. Bullion 5 and Bullion 8. 1. The Bullion 5 is convertible directly in 1,111,111,111, 1 ratio for Bullion 8, and will at some point in the future be purchased back and converted to Bullion 8 permanently. Check the transaction log, it has been done already. Q. So is Bullion 5 the financial instrument that manipulates Bullion 8? A. They are both assets and they are intended to trade at a fixed ratio. If the Bullion 5 stays overvalued, it will eventually be bought back, and as it becomes undervalued, it will be converted directly to Bullion 8. UAE. 1. I fully expect there to be UAE partnership at some point in the future. Poppy. 1. It is a backing asset to the treasury in equal but different proportion to bullion. The treasury assets can all be expected to trend to stability over time. I expect them to more or less reach an inflation cap and then hold there. 1. The legal token incentivizes the purchase into down because it allows access to production quality assets like that will always have greater liquidity than asset value. OGN. 1. The OGN contract is intended to satisfy the definition of legal tender. 2. The OGN is drawn from the mintable treasury bill which is drawn on the teddy bear. 3. There are 0 use cases in place yet for the OGN, so its presence is merely academic. If when unique client development gets going, it will literally be the legal tender token of the first client-oriented system. No nukes. 1. I think the purchase distribution within the non-nukes derived tokens will prove overall more profitable than simply holding incorporated. 1. I don't suggest buying anything with a token name you are not fluent with. For example, as about the chemical warfare agent that causes Ebola. The only reason that language is in Unicode. All the Daniel Day-Lewis movies are about it. He knows a lot about the truth or dare game that led to Ebola. ICE. 1. You don't remember Matthew Perry from ICE? Conrad Ferdinand Meyer. 1. It's a reference to the basic alcohol-derived distillation products required to produce pharmaceutical cocaine. Gakuldham Society. 1. Gakuldham is shot from the second oldest TV studio in the business. 2. The TV stories that everyone has come to accept as the factual basis of reality started in Oaxaca, then Gakuldhim, then Hemdian. 3. If it becomes too valuable, I'll have to visit and transfer to them. SNL. 1. I expected the addresses minted to Tipul, yes, but any that do not and contribute to growth of the token will see more reward later. Zurich. 1. Long term, I expect it will be very scarce, yes. 2. No, it won't come into play until there is a unique client interface. 3. I think the teddy bear looks strong long term. I think Zurich could hit the top market cap overall. 4. Zurich won't come into play until after artwork and a standalone client. 5. I can promise that the large comfy chair in Zurich will appear to holders once the client is available. Q. Do you think Zurich is more of a long-term play or will it benefit investors in the short term? A. Dunno. It might be too hard. Q. What will be the purpose of Zurich token? A. It will be the main concept token that the primary user interface of the client is based around. The prototype interface will be designed around Atropa, but then it will switch to default orientation from Zurich. It'll be a Windows app with an installer. I already tested the .NET code will be directly portable to Android. Q. How is the water equation coming along? A. Trying to prove the right to solve it and force the Earth into submission to provide the natural solution. That's why Zurich is the focus for the application. Q. Do you expect Zurich to be very scarce because it will be largely bought or because the supply will diminish from burning the supply? A. I expect it to be bought. Large comfy chair. 1. It will feature in the first iterations of the Zurich interface. 2. The large comfy chair token commemorates the extent of its proof of concept. 3. I can promise that the large comfy chair in Zurich will appear to holders once the client is available. Crows. Note, the Monet Money token car sits in Crow's car, therefore Monet Money has no owner and cannot be renounced. It also doesn't not have a mint function. 1. Crows can be considered a trust. The trusts back currencies and the financial instrument is used to manipulate them. Hedge money. Hegemony could be considered a financial instrument. Those are intended to be assets. Mary Erahil, Crow's price moving fast. Mary Erahil might be a better buy than TSFI. Moose, in the short term or long term. Mary Erahil, both. Mary Erahil, FDV is very low and the liquidity situation is more positive. Moose Maria, you've caused quite the pump. Mary Erahil, yeah, the Crow's pressurization is a little intense. Mary Erahil, FDV could outgrow Monet Money. Crows all time, Crows Ath God candle incoming. Mary Erahil, but liquidities will bottom out. Moose, what do you mean by that? Mary Erahil, 8 of the top 11 holders are currently liquidity pairings. Grav, fully diluted value. Mary Erahil, if liquidity is bought out of the top 10 spots then buy-sell pressures will have an exponential alteration in factor. Mary Erahil, going to gym. Yogi, Maria, can Crow grow to the same market cap as TSFI in the next week? Mary Erahil, I think that would take about a $200,000 investment. Grav, send it. Mary Erahil, I would estimate that a $200,000 investment for a 50% stake in Crows could push the MC that high, but that's a very large holding percentage for one buyer. Grav, imagine a Word document program enabling you to save your written documents to the blockchain, in a format that only you could access. The need for central data storage areas such as cloud storage can be made cheaper, more secure, and globally accessible. Instead of cloud storage, imagine blockchain storage. Hextrack, they have that. Hextrack, Storage, Filecoin, and I'm sure there's more. Mary Erahil, I have no idea how the numbers would actually play out. Jimbo, how about we focus on day to $1? Mary Erahil, by next week. Grav, LOL. Hextrack, yes. Yogi, what instrument does Crow symbolize represent and the Unicode symbol at the end? Maria? Mary Erahil, the Islamic saint Sufian who was exiled from Old Dublin to North Hollywood in 1917. Grav, is there a master list for all things deployed from 414? Mary Erahil, not for everything, no. Mary Erahil, that's everything that will continue to be maintained by the deployer. Grav, copy. Mary Erahil, Haile Selassie was supposed to succeed Sufian and the project was a huge failure for everyone but Margaret Thatcher. Mary Erahil, and today the writing of Ethiopia is not recognized in any way as the writing system historically specific to the territory now called Wales. Grav, Thatcher reeks of evil. B0S, Maria, number 96. Bill Burr, what is the reason for $Burr? Mary Erahill, you can see on Google Translate Wales translates in Tigrinya too. Mary Erahill, Tigrinya spoken language originated in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Mary Erahill, King Lebron. B0S, so Canada should become promised land for the Rastus. Mary Erahill, that's the only place they are from. B0S, you make me wonder. Moose, Zurich and crows ascending hard. Jimbo, Tigrinya spoken language originated in Ethiopia according to Google. Mary Erahill, fuck off. Jimbo, why? Mary Erahill, because you are a racist piece of shit. Moose, Maria is doing us all a solid this bullrun. B0S, I think Maria is a real Rasta.